Colin. I told you guys in my wildest dreams after watching them lose that to Michigan, I didn't think this would happen. And I owe apologies to Ryan Day. I owe apologies to Will Howard because that's, in my opinion, who pulled through. You know, Will Howard pulled through the entire college football playoff. I thought Ryan Day had the team ready to play after probably one of the worst losses in program history. Day is officially vindicated, and I hope that Will Howard can find a chance in the NFL because I thought 13 for 13 last night against a pretty darn good Notre Dame defense was all you needed to see that he might even deserve a chance, at least at a camp invite. I'm not saying draft him in the top 4 rounds, but be on a roster and have a chance to compete for a backup job. I want to thank all the seniors for the Buckeyes as well that stuck around for their 5th years. Colin, it truly, you rarely win. You rarely win.
We're thanking the seniors. It's like
thanking my seniors,
we're at
man.
the banquet.
Colin, I want to thank all the seniors, and I know you made fun of me for this early on in the year, but a bunch of 5th years came back this year, and they could have went to the NFL draft in greener pastures. I know NIL had a lot to do with it. But after hearing the post-game interviews on how they came together as a team and like opening up the curtain a little bit, this one meant a lot. And I am very proud to be a Buckeye today, to say the least.
And are you pleased with the way they won?
I am.
Are you pleased with how that
Colin,
game went, how the tournament went, the playoff went?
I am. And obviously the Tennessee and Oregon game, it's everything you love being a Buckeye fan about, right? Winning on the biggest stage and doing it in tremendous fashion and blowing teams out. You had a close one in Texas. And I know no one wants to hear this, but I was worried last night. I started doing my victory laps at 31-7, and my mother was texting me when it was close. She's like, it's over. I'm like, Mom, it's not over. Like, it's not over yet. The 2-point conversion where the receiver got it in the backfield, avoids getting sacked and throws to a wide open person in the back of the end zone, I almost about pooped my pants. And I'm like, all right, are we going to get a first down here, or are we just going to continue to capitulate on defense? And Jeremiah Smith in the one-on-one coverage to cover 0, you've been hearing about it all day. Notre Dame went man-to-man on a must-stop 3rd down, and Will Howard threw it about 50 yards to Jeremiah Smith. So I thought the game had everything. It was a blowout. It was close, and then the big play to Jeremiah at the end. And I thought the Buckeyes did well enough to win the game. It shouldn't have been that close, but in a national championship game like that, just win. Just win. Find a way to win. And the Buckeyes found a way to win number 9 last night. By the way, a lot of stipulations there. ESPN broadcast was saying 7. Apparently, they're not giving the flowers for Ohio State for a couple of those early national championships. But you ask a Buckeye fan, that was number 9 last night.
Now, it was a little bizarre because I agree. Ohio State came out in the get-go. After that opening drive by Notre Dame, in which they absolutely punched them in the mouth. I don't know if I've seen a drive all year long that was more smash mouth, that was more in your face, that was more we know what they're doing, but we cannot stop it than that opening Notre Dame drive, which took 10 minutes and 18 plays. But after that, and Ohio State really started to settle in, Notre Dame had to throw the ball a little bit more. It was a little more erratic in terms of moving the ball down the field. Then Ohio State, of course, built that lead. Once they built that lead and they got a little conservative, Notre Dame knocking on the door a couple of times, didn't really handle the red zone properly. And especially in that 4th quarter, Ohio State, it looked a lot like, for 2 drives, it looked a little like Michigan.
It did.
It looked a little like Michigan where it was scared play calling. It was play calling that was not to lose. It wasn't to win. It was playing not to lose. And especially before that Jeremiah Smith heave to close out the game, put them in field goal range to make it a 2-possession game, they were running quarterback draw time and time again. And everybody in the building knew it was coming. And everybody in the building was thinking, Ohio State, they're playing with both hands behind their back. They're scaring themselves out of this game when they have an 8-point lead. And Notre Dame finally has an opportunity to get the ball back with a chance to tie. It was so bizarre to see such a blatant 180 until that deep throw, until that deep shot to Jeremiah Smith. I thought they were going to give the ball up again.
Yep, and they wanted to burn clock. I understand running the ball, but Chip could have got into his
Will Howard.
That's what I mean. Chip could have got into his bag of tricks a little more there. Judkins was on fire last night. He had 3 touchdowns. I thought maybe they could do a little more design runs his way.
You're using the Will Howard, who's a good athlete, not a great athlete, but 15 carries.
The turning point in the game was when your 5th-year senior, leader of the team, a guy who came back specifically for a big game like this and Emeka Egbuka fumbled. I could not believe it. If he goes out, granted, if he doesn't fumble, if you get 3 there, the game's over. You get any kind of points there late in the fourth quarter, already up 16 points, that game is over. Instead, he fumbles, and Notre Dame gets it and takes completely advantage of it. And I want to say this about that Notre Dame offense. Ohio State's game plan in that game was to stop the run, and they did outside of the first drive. Colin, I don't think the Buckeye defense knew what to do when they opened the playbook up. The Greathouse was running wide open. That damn tight end. If I see that doggone tight end wide open in the middle of the field one more time, all right, they opened the playbook up. And I think the Buckeyes focused all week on stopping the run, stopping Will Howard, and stopping their running backs. I was worried for a minute. I can't lie. You were in our group text. You saw me texting Theo Dorsey and Christian Catt, our producer, back at the station at Theo Dorsey. You could hear on ESPN West Palm 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., theoretically speaking. I texted you guys taking some victory laps at 31-7. I thought we were good. And it turns out that, like you said, the play calling, kind of playing scary, the Egbuka fumble. The Buckeyes played a horrible quarter in the fourth quarter outside of that big heave to Jeremiah Smith, which ultimately did in Notre Dame.
I didn't think that Ohio State was – I wasn't nervous for Ohio State. I was a little confused at the decision-making behind their play calling at certain points. But Notre Dame never got the ball with a chance to tie. And I thought for a team like Notre Dame that hadn't really made mistakes throughout the playoff, they've played within there. They never get off track. They always stick to the script. Hell or high water, good or bad, they will do what they do, and that is the bottom line. That I give Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman credit for. Now, one thing I do not give Notre Dame credit for, and I thought it was their one blatant mistake that they made in this playoff, was that second-to-last offensive drive of the game when it was fourth and goal from the Ohio State 9, and you bring out Mitch Jeter, who's been terrible all year at kicking the football, and he shanks it. That, to me, after a good drive where you worked awfully hard, 2 fourth-down conversions, a good third-down conversion as well, a drive where Notre Dame worked awfully hard just to get down the field, and there's only 5 minutes to go, and you're down 2 scores and you're lining up a field goal, that, to me, was a bizarre call. It took them, even if he made it, they would have had a chance, of course, to take the win if they got a third possession out of it. But you cannot expect that after you've been getting ran up and down the field by Ohio State's offense time and time again. That was the one blatant Notre Dame mistake that I thought really cost.
I thought Freeman was tight all game, and I'm never a fan of the on-field interview with the head coach mid-game. I think that's as Bush League as it gets. But in those ridiculous interviews, I thought he was a little tight. And I thought he was specifically tight after the Notre Dame kid roughed the passer. And that's always roughing the passer. It's a bonehead play. Now, fair play to Freeman because he talked into getting that turnover in existence because the next play, Egbuka fumbled. But I'm with you. I thought Freeman was tight all game. I thought that they probably should have opened up the playbook sooner than later. I thought when the Buckeyes went up 14-7, you'd kind of see Notre Dame get away from the game plan of designed quarterback runs, RPOs and whatnot.
You couldn't rely on it. You can't do that 9 times a drive. They were able to do it the first drive. You can't do that all game.
And Leonard got his bell rung. I think the unspoken thing about Notre Dame in that game and their offense was that I thought Riley Leonard was hurt after that first drive when you ran him 9 to 10 times. I understand 18 plays right down the field, punch him in the throat. I was screaming some explicits at the TV. Don't get me wrong. I think the neighbors down the street heard me. But at the same time, you can't, like, my buddies were texting me, like, Riz, this isn't going to last the whole game. And it certainly didn't. And a couple of those throws, when they had to throw the ball in the first half, I thought he was visibly hurt on a couple of them.
He's never been a thrower to begin with.
But that kid's a gamer. I'll tell you what, he turned into a thrower in that second half. And the only thing I have to defend the Buckeye defense when they went up and down the field 2 straight times was that they just weren't ready for it. They must have not have been ready for it. They must have been still selling out on the run and going on the old game plan. Guys were running wide-ass open. And not
that's fine. You'll deal with that. You'll deal with that. You don't want them to be in the running game.
Not to mention, too, I thought they started calling it close. Like, I thought the ref, and listen, I hate blaming officiating. I thought they were calling stuff in the second half that they weren't necessarily calling in the first half. I understand they're trying to get a game. They're trying to make it entertaining for the fans and the gamblers. But a couple of those calls in the Ohio State secondary, Igmanosin clearly had a couple of them. But the one at the end zone, Kyle, where they said someone threw somebody down off the ball, I said, what are we doing here?
When they called it on Caleb Downs and it wasn't on Caleb Downs?
Yes.
That was a clear call. Clear call. The Herbstreit pointed it out. He circled it on the screen. The guy took his shoulder pad and stuck his neck into the ground.
It was a